We all have some form of trauma. We have all been through some sort of suffering in our lives. And when we as human beings are incapable of accepting what has happened to us, and instead we tend to blame our parents, our family members, our teachers, whoever, for the chaos and the trauma that they brought into your life. I was this person. I was somebody who would constantly blame my father, my mother, and I always had such a negative perception about them because I was like, how dare they? How dare you do this to me? How dare you treat me in this way? How do you not know how to deal with a child? How do you not know how to show a child love? And I can go on. I have a list, of things I could continue. And only once I went through an experience where I had my own daughter, and that's why sometimes, we end up having people like me, and I mean, a lot of people. We have kids, not for us to teach our kids how to be. It's really for our kids to teach us, and most importantly, to teach us to have patience and compassion. My daughter taught me so much compassion and forgiveness for other people. I don't think anybody, her and my ex-husband, they both taught me forgiveness and compassion like nobody's business. My parents, I believe, they implanted a seed. So I never learned that lesson, to be honest, when I was living with them, because I was just observing. I was just watching. But when I went through the experience of getting married, having a child, and going through all of that, that is what it like, I rose from the ashes and I was awake finally to what I was doing, to what I was saying, to how I was behaving, how I was portraying myself, all the lies I was telling myself and other people. It all came to light. I finally woke up. And only then I started seeing my parents in a different light. I started seeing my suffering that I went through as a child in a very different light. And I no longer succumbed to that victim story that I told myself, that it's all, all these people did all these bad things to me. And it's, I was such a good person. And why did I deserve this? Why did I deserve to go through all of this? And even blaming God many of times, why would God do this to me? Why did he give me these parents? I used to always have this thought. I can even remember where I was as I was thinking this as a teenager, because all my friends, there's something stuck in my throat. It's driving me crazy. All my friends had a happy, well, to me, that's how it seemed, right? Because you perceive it to be that way. They all had a nice home. They all had happy parents. They had siblings. They had money. And I was looking at me and I was like, I look at my surroundings and I have my parents that are constantly fighting. There's just like a war, World War III in my house every single day. Okay, not every single day, but quite often. And there was no calmness. It was just chaotic. And I did not know what I was going to get when I get there. And I would find places to hide and just cry because I was so afraid. And I just was tired of it. I was tired. And I had to, again, this is what the inner child work that I talk about. I had to go back to that little girl who is struggling in a lot of ways, struggling to keep myself intact. And I had to forgive my mom and my dad, because they just did not know what the hell they were doing. They were operating out of fear instead of love. And there was an experience. I'll share another thing. So my entire life, my dad has been super, I don't know, what are you talking about? What is the video about again? Oh, yes. Okay. My entire childhood, my entire life, my father has been somebody who has been super conservative. If I even wear a skirt or anything like that, he would just lose his shit and be like, "You're never going to come back in this house. You're not allowed to come in this house." He said that to me, and he threatened me. And I still did it because I was that wild kid that really tested him a lot. And then as I got my, as I had my daughter, and of course, when I grew up, my dad does not care anymore. He's given up. And so I remember going to see his mother, who's my granny. And I remember wearing shorts that day. And I was with my daughter. And she was in her bed. And of course, she's passed away. And I I'm not saying this story again to blame or any of that. Is just my experience and what I learned. And I love her. She's my grandmother, of course. And she's watching us. That's what I meant to say. So I remember she lost it that I wore these shorts. And she was like, "What kind of mother are you?" She went ham on me. And obviously I didn't care about me because I was like, whatever. But I was trying to protect my daughter. And I obviously got really upset because I was like, "Don't you dare," in my head, I was getting really upset. And after that whole experience, when I went home, I was like, oh my God, my dad got it from her. He has this belief and this way of thinking because of his mother. But I never knew that. I never saw that. I just thought my dad one day went insane and he just has this belief and thought and mindset. And then when you go back to her history, you learn even more stuff. At the age of 3, her mother passed away. And then her father disowned her, never wanted anything to do with her, didn't even give her money. And her father then went on. He's this rich man. Imagine he's living not across the street, but he's living pretty close to her in a huge mansion, one of the richest men. But he never came to see his daughter or give her money or whatever, or look after her in any sort of way. And then she marries a man. They have 3 kids, and he is from Iran. And yeah, he's from Iran. Sorry. And they have 3 kids together, 3 boys. One of them is my dad. And of course, there's details in this that I'm missing, and I know that. But I just want to get to the gist of what this is. And so he then left her. I guess he couldn't find a job or something along those lines. He left her with 3 boys with no money, and she obviously was looking after the kids, right? So he left her, and she didn't have any education, and he moved to Iran, and he married somebody else there while he was married to my dad's mom. He went to Iran, he married an Iranian, and he then had 2 kids over there. And so my granny literally had no support, no family members. She raised these 3 sons by herself. And I don't know what was her conditioning or what she went through for her to have that belief or that mindset. And so knowing all of this, I begin to get compassion for these people that triggered me, because I was like, how on earth are you talking? Like, I was just, like, what is going on? And once you learn the stories, the backstory of people, you really get to just see them in a different light and not be so judgmental and just not have so much hate in your heart for people that are hurt, that have not healed, that haven't had the tools or the support or the information, the knowledge. Back then, they didn't have Google to how do you heal? How do you work? Like, they didn't do any of the inner work or any of that. And so it's so important as humans to really have compassion for your parents and family members, even if they're like the fucking devil. Because I've had some people in my life that seem like they're the fucking devil. And again, they're not in my life, right? And no, I actually have somebody that is in my life like that. But I have created boundaries with them. I have understood how to, instead of cutting them off, how to still love them and respect them. Again, this is my experience. Not everybody has to agree, and that is okay. Maybe my dad would have never said to me, if you're going to wear that skirt, you can never come back again in this house. Maybe that could have been different, right? And so a lot of the things that I went through in my childhood, I had to look at it from a very different light, different perspective. And also another thing, as when you're younger, you have very limited perspective and knowledge of what actually happened. Sometimes what you think has happened, you might have missed different aspects of that story. It was not to invalidate how you feel and what, your trauma or anything like that. I'm just saying that sometimes what we perceive it to be, and I think about this sometimes with my daughter, and I'm doing something and maybe, I'm not being as attentive as I should be. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she's gonna think about this when she's older and make a YouTube video on it. I don't know. And so maybe she might, I don't know. And that personally just gives me more compassion for myself to know that I'm not that perfect, and neither were my parents. But my parents were exactly who I needed to. They needed to be those exact people for me to be who I am today. Like, if they were even a little bit different, like if my mom gave me all the love that she could have given me, if my dad gave me all the love that he, it was possible for him to give me, I wouldn't be here making this video right now. Like, think about how insane that is. And even in your life, if even one thing in my life hadn't panned out in the way that it has, I wouldn't be here today. I would be a completely different person. Like, for example, when I applied for Emirates, and there was 600 people there applying, and for whatever reason, I was just like, whatever. Like, I wasn't stressed about it. I was only 22. And that was my destiny, to get on that flight and to live in Dubai for 7 years and meet my ex-husband, and for everything else to have fallen into place. There was a reason it all happened in that order. It was divine order. And so whenever something is happening in your life and you might think, oh my God, this is the end of it and everything is just being so crazy and nothing is going my way, I just want you to know, maybe there is a reason, there is a plan, there is some sort of divinity in all of that, even if it doesn't seem like that to you at this very moment. Another thing I wanted to mention, I recently saw Oprah's interview, and it was a very special interview because the way that the interviewer was interviewing Oprah was I loved it. It was like a game, and I cried like 9,000 times. She's just such an amazing soul, and like when I see her interviews, I feel her. It's so intense, and I can't explain it, but one of the things she mentioned in her story, and that is really what inspired me to make this video today. She mentioned how at the age of 9, she was raped, she was abused, molested, and I don't know who did this, but she would be whipped if she did something wrong. She was bullied in school. And the next point that I'm going to say really it just hurt me so much when I heard it. But I guess as a child, she was raised by her grandmother. And I believe her grandmother got sick or something happened. And so at the age of 6, she then had to move back to live in with her mother, who was roommates with this other woman who apparently she was black, but she was a lighter black. I think that's how she explained it. And that lady told her mother, Oprah's mother, that she's too dark to sleep in this house. So she needs to sleep outside of that house. At the age of 6, her mother agreed, and Oprah slept outside with God knows what. I just can't fathom that. And again, it's not judgmental, but it's just so hard for me to understand it. As a mother, how could you allow your 6-year-old to sleep outside with God knows what? I have a 4-year-old and I couldn't fathom that. And so it just breaks my heart that she went through that. But now what we can do here is we can sit and we can cry about it. I definitely did. But we can stay in here, right? But what Oprah said is that this just taught her to love people even more and to have more compassion for people, right? Because there are some parents that don't know how to be parents, or they're not ready to be parents, and maybe they can be abusive or X, Y, and Z. So the fact that she went through that, she went through abuse, she went through molestation, she went through bullying, she was living in poverty. There was no clean running water. Like, do you guys, I don't know. It's like the only way that Oprah made it through is through God. Like, there's no other way. And also her story, it gives all of us inspiration. You know, that like if you have come from a bad or just a troubled background, and you then are thinking it's never going to happen for you. But look at Oprah. She's like the living example for me, at least. Maybe not for other people. I'm sure someone out there is like, yeah, but she didn't have this, or, you know, something else will come about, and that's okay, whatever. But to me, that's just inspiring to me. And I wanted to share that with you guys. And also, what I love about Oprah is that she never, like, I'm saying it because it hurts me, but she never says anything bad about her mom. The reason why Oprah is where she's at is that she never says anything bad about anybody. And even if she makes a mistake, she owns up to it. She's like, you know what? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. And I've never seen her humiliate anybody or any of that. And I feel like that is why God is on her side, and she is where she's at, even if she gets hate, even if she gets whatever. What the whole point of me saying this was that Oprah could easily sit here and she could be saying, you know, all of these things is the reason why I couldn't be successful. I got raped, I got molested, I lived in poverty, I had this mother who never truly loved me or cared for me, and my grandmother hit me and abused me or whatever. And she could have gone on. She had like an essay of things she could go off of. And I'm thinking to myself, like, even like my daughter, if she went through even one of these things, I would lose my shit. And the fact that Oprah went through all of these things and she still made it out so freaking amazing and such a great soul, it just says a lot about our lives. We are meant to go through these tough times. Oprah couldn't be Oprah if she didn't go through these adversities. She wouldn't be able to feel compassion for these people that have gone through all these difficult times in their life. What I really want you to take out of this is that if you're going through something right now that is difficult and traumatic and tough, I want you to know that it is okay, and that eventually you're going to look back at the suffering that you went through and you're going to see, oh, it was meant for XYZ to happen 2 months later. And this is not for us to invalidate our trauma and what we went through. It's for us to not get bitter about it. Don't stay in the bitterness, but transmute that into something where you're able to help another person with that instead of causing yourself internal harm over and over and over again, and then making yourself feel special for the trauma that you went through. I'm going to end the video here. And if you're somebody who's new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this video. And tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are. Put it down below. You're a special person, and know that everything in your life is happening for a reason. There is a purpose in it. Also, if you're somebody who's tired of choosing people or situations that is costing you your self-respect, and you are ready for a relationship and a life where you don't need to shrink in order to be chosen, then I would like you to apply for a clarity session. The link is down below in the description. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.